afternoon, everybody. I'm Howard Kaye, and welcome to the Die Rich podcast. I'll be your host for the next 15-20 minutes, and we have a special guest with us today, Philip Sassower. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good morning. Nice seeing you.
You too. Well, Philip's got an interesting story. Actually, I've known his family for a few years now, being introduced to his son, Mark, and his background is just so vast in the business world. He's got a tremendous family, extremely successful children, as well as the success that he's enjoyed over these years. And we're going to be talking about his career, what new things are on the horizon, and then a little input from Phil with respect to legacy planning. Of course, we're going to play our word association game, the formulas for success, and then tie it all together and wrap it up. And hopefully, as we say each week, there are some little nuggets that you can pull out of this, the listener, because as I like to say, that the show is really for our guests as well as the listeners. And as my father used to teach me all the time, listen with application. And if there's one thing that you can pull out to make your world, your life better, then it was all worth it. So, Phil, let's get started. As I had mentioned previously, as a junior, you attended Queens College and then went on to the impressive law school of Harvard. Your background, quite interesting. You were the son-in-law of Max Emanuel Oppenheimer. Tell us about that, what your involvement with the company, and how did that all go?
Well, actually, upon graduating from Harvard Law School in 1964, I was going to go to a Wall Street law firm. And unfortunately, my late father-in-law, Max E. Oppenheimer, passed away. And since my wife was an only child, I took a leave of absence, and what was going to take about 4 years, take about 6 months, took 4 years, which was getting involved with the estate and Oppenheimer and Company and the Oppenheimer Fund. And we got involved, and ultimately over that 4-year period, wound up disposing of the interest in Oppenheimer and Company and the Oppenheimer Fund quite successfully. But by the time that was over, I was really more involved in the financial world and deals than I was in the practice of law, although the background of law was quite helpful in structuring deals. So,
was there an opportunity, though, to continue Oppenheimer, or was there a specific reason why you wanted to close down and move on?
I left Oppenheimer and Company and formed my own firm, member firm, Sassower, Jacobs, and Schneider. And our focus was not the brokerage business, but using the brokerage business as a window to finding deals and opportunities into which we could make concentrated investments. So I formed this firm, Sassower, Jacobs, and Schneider. We wound up in raising capital for various firms, but the first big deal that we actually did was when I was 31 years old. I became the CEO and controlling shareholder of a company on the New York Stock Exchange called Bates Manufacturing Company Incorporated, which was the largest employer in the state of Maine. It had 5 million square feet of space, 5,000 employees. It was a large textile operation, and over a period of time, we improved its operations, but we also diversified and made an investment in the energy space. We bought a coal property called Virginia Iron Coal and Virginia Iron Coal. And what happened was, after the Arab Oil Embargo, just as the price of oil went up, the price of coal went up dramatically, and the amount of reserves that we had, multiplied tremendously, because you could dig that much deeper because of the price. You could afford to take off, go down to the second, third, fourth seam. And that company that we bought for $10 million, we wound up selling for $120 million. And that was our first big hit. That then,
and $120 million back then was a lot different than $120 million today.
Correct. It's 120 million today is still a lot of money, although my wife spent that money, so now we have to go make more money.
Well, you certainly had tremendous successes with the different deals that you were in. Out of curiosity, do you use the same approaches today as you did back then when looking for deals? Is it the same parameters, or have you found that that has shifted over the last 30 or 40 years?
Well, with technology, there are some differences, but basically, I think the difference of our approach is where many people who are in the investment business are very focused on diversification and a broad-based portfolio. Our approach is quite different. We're contrarians, and we found the best value is where people don't want to look. And we also found that by making concentrated investments in situations that we truly understand, where we think we can bring about a difference, has been very, very helpful. So I think being concentrated, the fact that we make these concentrated investments, and when you get our money, good or bad, you get us too. So we're quite informed about it. And we don't do a lot of deals. We only do a few deals and focus on those deals. And as I tell my children jokingly, these are sometimes very long-term investments. We make sometimes a 10-year investment to become an overnight success, because you make that investment and it takes that much time for what you see to mature and develop, and then the numbers can be spectacular. I mean, we've had deals that have gone from 10 cents a share to $100 a share, but over, as I say, a 10-year period of time.
Well, you've got to have the staying power, the patience, and the focus. But what's interesting to me is that contrarian view, and it just confirms the whole idea about going against or going beyond conventional wisdom, because the conventional thinker can only see so much, and you're looking outside of the box to where people aren't necessarily viewing it, and that's how you're getting into some of these deals and saying, this is where no one else has the vision of what we can do with it, and that's where your value comes in, I assume.
You're 100% correct. Let's think about it this way. If everyone thinks something is great, then the price of that security or that asset reflects the fact that everyone is bullish on it. If people are negative on it, then the price would enable you to have an entry point that is attractive. And if it turns out that you see something that they don't see, and it turns out right, then you have an opportunity not only to make good money because you've done the right thing and the business improved, but your point of entry was attractive.
Absolutely. Now, before we get to your latest venture, I just want to touch a little bit on family life, because, you know, I view your family as an extremely unique family in the sense that, number one, you are the patriarch. You actually remind me a lot of my father, and you really oversee everything. But each one of your children are so successful in their own rights. What do you attribute it to? Was it the raising and focus on education? Was it just them understanding that family comes first, that's most important? And where do you see the direction of how they achieved what they have at you being at the helm, so to speak?
You know, I always say two things you should never talk about is politics and religion. But in this regard, I think I have to make a departure. I think that being Jewish, and my parents, who were immigrants, who came from Poland, and my wife's parents came from Germany, the Jews who have been persecuted for thousands of years, they were forced to become overachievers and work hard to get into the medical school, to work hard to get into the law school. So to be equal, they had to work that much harder. So I think that that tenacity, or that's what creates the hunger. Not necessarily that you have a financial need, but because of the fact that you want to win, and you apply yourself accordingly. So I think that's part of the background and our culture, and our children who are successful. I have a son who is a senior partner of one of the largest law firms in the world, and doing extremely well. And all my children are just terrific. That and the periodic beatings that I have to give them to make sure they do the right thing,
See, that's what we're not doing these days anymore.
Yeah, well,
But congratulations, it's fantastic. Let's fast forward to today. You've once again put yourself into an interesting deal that, again, is not overnight. You've been at it for some years now, and you're looking for it to come to fruition as you've nurtured it and grown it. This company is called iSIGN Technology, I believe, and
iSIGN Solutions.
iSIGN Solutions.
Yes.
And tell us a little about that and the difficulties that are with it, overcoming the competition, because as we know, really the main company in that space is Docusign, but you've taken a different approach to it. What is it, and how does it all work?
Okay, so iSIGN is in the business of enabling businesses and enterprises and people to complete transactions paperlessly, with the speed of the internet. And when they need to capture a signature, you can do that remotely over the internet with the speed of the internet at a very effective price. So using an electronic signature. Now, you're absolutely right that Docusign, which is on fire, by the way, they went public a little more than a year ago at $27 a share, and they're now 10 times the price, because most businesses have been adversely affected by the pandemic, but there are winners and losers in everything. For instance, in the retail space, brick and mortar businesses are doing poor. On the other hand, internet has enabled companies like Amazon. They are explosive. Similarly, a Docusign and iSIGN enables businesses to complete transactions on a remote basis. So people want to continue to do business. There's no doubt that this is going to continue. And by the way, even when there will be the vaccinations and there will be a cure for this COVID, and we all hope and pray that that's coming sooner rather than later, this change of being able to complete transactions with electronic signature will be a permanent change. Because when you do business on the computer and you need to, you print out a contract, as an example, historically, the arcane way to do it is you then take that contract, you sign it, but then you have to mail it or deliver it or fax it to someone else.
Right.
And that slows down the entire process. With electronic signature, you can complete that transaction instantly over the internet, and obviously that's the way the world would be moving. Now, the big difference between us and Docusign and how we go about it is, and we're not competing with Docusign in the US market, is Docusign went out and spent several $100 million hiring thousands of salespeople to go out and make Howard Kaye, Phil Sassower, or whomever a client for their electronic signature. Our approach is quite different. We have very few employees. Mostly our technology is our engineers. What we did is we went ahead and we licensed solution providers who then go to their customer base. They already have thousands and thousands of customers, and explaining to them why they should complete their transactions with electronic signature. And iSIGN has a very, very important strategic alliance with a company in Europe called Cegedem, Cegedem. It's a major solution provider. And that's a company that has 5,000 employees, and they have 80 offices in 10 different countries in Europe. And they're out there selling to these hundreds of their customers who are doing hundreds of millions of transactions, our electronic signature. So they have the exclusive for the iSIGN solution, so sort of white labeling it. What they're selling is really the iSIGN solution, and we share those revenues on a 50-50 basis. So the beauty for us is that they have all the lifting costs, all the marketing costs to deliver the sales, and we collect half.
And you share in the revenue, right?
And those revenues to us are pure profit. So they
exactly. In fact, yeah, you eliminated what Docusign was doing with the hundreds of millions that they put into that marketing to acquire clients. It's interesting because, you know, what I get out of this is that you're fearless. You know that there was a company in this space, and you found another technology in the same space and said, we can do it in a different fashion. We can cut down on what those upfront charges, expenses, costs are going to be. If we can get a revenue partner, a sharing partner that is large enough, that is worldwide, that we can get into them, let them do the heavy lifting, let them put the money in, and we share in that. And it sounds like a beautiful model.
Yeah, and I would say the thing is this. I love the success of Docusign because it explains to people that there's a value in this e-signature, but we want to be the Docusign of Europe. So we're
Got
not
it.
compete with them in the U.S. because Cegedem is a big name and a big factor in Europe. So when they come to a customer, and they have customers like Total Petroleum and major drug companies, and when they come to these major companies, and it is Cegedem who is marketing this, we could have the same, it's our technology, but if we came to them, they would say, who is iSIGN? We never heard of them. You know, it's a candy store. So the ability to get this, the credibility for it to get adopted is that much better. So I think that's
absolutely. And with how big DocuSign has become, people now are comfortable with it. So many things are being signed that way. So it can only help you in the long run. Well, congratulations on that venture. Let's just move on. We have a few minutes left before the Die Rich podcast is complete. I like to say it's our Die Rich, Live Rich, because while we show people how to die rich, you're bringing, again, nuggets to people. And that's all part of living rich. I just want to ask you, what do you find, or what is the importance to you about legacy planning and what it really means to you as far as your family is concerned?
Well, I was very, very disturbed to find out that I could not take it with me when I so therefore,
remember the old joke where you write a check and throw it in.
So therefore, we try to figure out how to pass that along to future generations in the most tax cost-effective way possible. So it's only logical, you follow. So and I would say that without getting into politics, with the deficits that we're running, I wonder where our taxes are going to be going. And so it may very well be that being conscious of, in terms of the tax planning and estate planning, is even more important than ever.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we show people how to use life insurance to accommodate those taxes, because listen, nobody knows when they're going to pass away. And ultimately, those taxes are going to be very heavy. I can't imagine the exemptions staying where they are today. So I think because of the deficits, all of those things will be coming down, which in the end will create more tax dollars. And that, again, is where the life insurance will come in and help. Last thing before we finish up, I'd like to play a little word association game. And this is all about the formulas for success. We have the Kaye formula, the Kaye family formula for success. I want to talk about the Sassower formula for success. Just your quick thoughts on each of these words or phrases that I bring up. Ready?
Go ahead.
Work ethic. Work ethic.
Listen, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Ah, interesting. Education.
Education is extremely, extremely important. However, not just knowledge in the abstract, but the ability to take that knowledge and apply it.
Becoming the expert.
I don't think it's necessary for you to be the expert, but I think it's important for you to know what you know and what you don't know. And if you don't know it, there are experts out there that can help you. I'm not an expert in iSIGN, but I saw the opportunity and focused on it. And now is an unbelievable time to be involved with iSIGN because of the pandemic. And I think that you're going to see a takeoff in the adoption of electronic signature in Europe, which is behind that in the US.
Creativity.
Look, creativity is obviously a desirable thing, but I think that we have focused more on application than on the creativity. If you keep working and if you have a valid concept and you keep applying that is until it's successful. That I think is more important than trying to figure out a new approach to it, unless the old approach was not valid.
Right. Marketing and communication.
Communications is unbelievably important, and I find that as a chairman and CEO of a number of public companies in the past, and now I'm the chairman and CEO of iSIGN. What's very, very important, and even if you control the company because you own the majority of the shares and what have you, consensus is very, very important. You need to be able to get the buy-in of those around you to see what you see and feel what you feel for it to be successful.
Absolutely. And finally, relationships.
Listen, relationships are very, very important. People are very, very important. Every deal that I was in, the companies which I got involved at 10 cents a share and wound up selling at $100 a share, those businesses were owned by other people. What made the difference were people. So the ability to pick and choose and select the right people to move the project forward and to be objective about it, that's very, very important.
That's terrific. Phil, I must say, you're an extremely wise and intelligent man. I've enjoyed having you on the show. It's fascinating hearing these tidbits from different people and hearing your take on business, how you've gotten involved, why you do what you do, how you think about things, and of course, your family life. I want to thank you for joining us today. For those watching, if you have any questions, of course, you can reach us at 800-DIE-RICH, and I can always figure out a way to put you in touch with the man himself, Phil Sassower. But Phil, thank you for being on the show. We've enjoyed it. Any concluding remarks?
No, I thank you for having us. And I think that, it's interesting, the timing of the interview. It's unbelievably, auspicious moment because the feedback we're getting from Sejdem in Europe is that this is a very intriguing point of time where many people who were on the fence are now moving in a direction of adopting this electronic signature solution, particularly because of the pandemic problem, so that they may very well turn out to have, it would have been successful regardless, but this accelerated it. So
Absolutely.
Good time to be involved.
Good. Well, again, thank you. You've all been listening to Die Rich, the podcast. I'm Howard Kaye, trying to help you live rich and die rich. Again, any questions? 800 Die Rich. We will be back with you next week. And once again, thank you, Phil Sassower. Good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.